effective politicians, whatever you think of the policy and him as a person, just as a politician, just understanding that always lean in to being more who you are. The people are not savvy about issues, but they smell a phony a mile away.
But if two guys who've been at each other for so long, it's kind of a Nixon to China thing. I have the credential. There was nobody who was harder on Trump or more prescient about the fact that he wasn't going to leave office voluntarily than I was. I feel like I have the credentials. But they also respect me because I'm honest about the woke train to crazy town.
Bill Maher admitted that Donald Trump is the alpha and even said he admires him. Now, Maher has always been one of Trump's biggest critics, and yes, he voted for Kamala Harris. So for him to say something like this, it really means a lot. And he didn't stop there. Maher also called out Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and even Joe Biden, all in the same show.
They're like an animal. They're instinctive. Like, I smell fear, or I smell alpha. And they smell alpha. And Democrats have to come up with an alpha, and it's not Tim Walz.
No, probably not.
And it's not the other Tim who ran. These are not alphas. It's like this thing of like, let's get a woman and then a docile man who's in every commercial where he's the asshole while mom takes care of business. You know, that's not a message that makes the tribe go, who's strong? Who's strong? Who's strong? Tim Walz. No, Morgan, give me rock. I need to kill myself because Tim Walz. You know, that you gotta appeal to people at a sort of post-civilization stage where we're kind of at, on a primal level.
That's exactly what I've been saying for months. No one on the left can match Trump. Not Kamala Harris, not Gavin Newsom, and definitely not Tim Walz. Let's be clear, this isn't about saying Trump is perfect, because he's not. But at least he stands for common sense. He's strong, confident, and not afraid to speak the truth. He's the kind of leader who could actually bring America back to its best days. What we don't need is another weak, fake leader, someone who stumbles through speeches, has no real passion, and just follows what their handlers tell them. America needs a real leader, not a puppet. And the last thing this country should accept is an empty figurehead controlled by pushy political advisors. We've already seen where that path goes. More decline, more division, and more chaos. It's time for us to expect and demand better.
And Trump does it better than anybody.
Trump does, and he started with a rejection principle. What took him from being a joke to being a messenger was two things. One that was really missed in the media, and I was just fortunate to be covering the rallies, so I saw it sooner. We forgot how powerful celebrity is in the American psyche. And that Trump being a TV star, see, I never saw him as a TV star, because I've just known him my whole life.
Not just a TV star, but one who played a boss.
Yes. And that apprentice is really everybody wanted to be him. Now, maybe not certain aspects of his personality, but the money, the power, the agency. So they missed that. But when he really turned was, I know who you hate, and I know what you hate, because they all come to me, and I hate them too, and I will make them pay. The idea that Trump was ever selling himself as a cure is bullshit. He was selling himself as a virus.
That's so true. A lot of us just couldn't stand the direction America was heading. It felt like watching a car slide out of control with no brakes and no one taking responsibility, heading straight for disaster. People were tired of the woke agenda, where innocent babies were sacrificed for the sake of convenience, and men were allowed into women's sports and locker rooms, all in the name of so-called progress. But it wasn't progress, it was pure madness. The culture was getting more toxic every single day. You couldn't share your honest opinion without being called hateful, canceled, or silenced. Even basic truths were laughed at. Patriotism was mocked. Faith, family, and freedom, the values that once built this country, were treated like old, useless ideas. People felt stuck, unheard, and desperate for a way out. We weren't just hoping for change, we were searching for someone to save us. And for many, the only person brave enough to speak the truth was Trump. But the most interesting part is when Bill Maher explains why he believes Trump is so powerful. Listen to that.
I totally understand their hate. a lot of what they hate, I hate too.
Yeah, I get it.
But I just will go, but I also have a rational mind.
Yes.
So I don't go all the way to then this is, because it is worse to me.
Right.
Well, you know, if you don't really believe in the secession of power, if you don't really believe in the emergency of climate change, I can't get on board with you. But yeah, the political instincts, just the connection with people. I mean, people are always saying, I'm saying it's my editorial this Friday about Republicans being North Korean with their leader, but why? The reason why that they're so afraid of him is that they know he has a connection. If you're a congressman, a senator, he has a connection with my voters that I do not have.
Nope. He will beat you.
I do not have that connection.
He will primary you, and more often than not, you will lose.
You know,
And that's, if all you're about is keeping power, that's all you need to be kept in check.
Trump is way more influential than most people give him credit for, and that's where his real power comes from. His influence doesn't come from the media or from rich and powerful elites. It comes from his strong connection with everyday Americans, because he speaks directly to the hearts of voters. He understands their struggles, their frustrations, and their hopes for a better future. And he actually talks about those things. Trump listens. He doesn't insult people by calling them deplorables or try to shame them into silence. Instead, he takes their concerns seriously and responds with action, not with fake sympathy or lectures. While his opponents spend time scolding people or forcing their beliefs from the top down, Trump does the opposite. He doesn't push ideas on people or expect them to blindly follow. He speaks for the forgotten ones, the working class, the average American, who just want common sense, safety, and respect. That's why his supporters don't just back him, they trust him. Now listen to Bill Maher as he continues to praise Trump in a way no one expected.
Trump really is one of the most effective politicians, whatever you think of the policy and him as a person. Just as a politician, just understanding that always lean in to being more who you are. The people are not savvy about issues, but they smell a phony a mile away. And that kind of shit, nobody else does it. You know, there's a couple of times when, I mean, I've been his biggest critic for good reason. And when he got reelected, I said, I'm not going to pre-hate anything. And then the first week I said, well, there's lots of things I hate, because I do. Okay, there's some things I don't hate also, but the way he can do that and sometimes kind of make me go, oh man, I gotta get.
The truth is, Trump is without a doubt the most powerful and effective politician of our time. Whether you like him or not, the man is a real political force. He's the strongest weapon ever used against the Democrats, and they know it. That's why they fear him, attack him, and try to silence him every chance they get. Because the truth is, they've never figured out how to beat him where it really matters, with the people. When Trump won that huge election, it wasn't just another win, it was a clear message. He didn't just barely win, he crushed the Democrats by a wide margin, something this country hadn't seen in over 20 years. A win like that doesn't happen by luck. It happens when a leader connects deeply with voters, shares a clear message, and builds a strong movement that doesn't give up. Trump changed the way people look at political success. Even now, every candidate is compared to him. The Democrats had a clear shot at winning, but they blew it. And now, listen to Bill Maher as he tears them apart for it.
I mad at the Democrats when they lost because I said, my two big issues are democracy and the environment, and now I don't have a champion for either. So you lost, and that's what you gave me. So don't be mad at me for calling you losers, loser assholes who fucked this election.
I don't know about you, but this really surprised me, because Bill Maher almost never says anything bad about Gavin Newsom, let alone calls him out in public. I still remember the interview Maher did with Newsom on his show. Newsom gave his usual polished, empty answers, talking a lot but never really saying anything clear. And Maher didn't challenge him at all. No tough questions, no pushback, just polite nods. So for Maher to call him out now, that says a lot. This isn't just some small critique. It shows that even old liberal voices are starting to get tired of the fake and performative behavior from the woke left. Maher has been slowly moving away from the progressive crowd for a while, but this feels like a new step. When someone who used to defend people like Newsom finally hits their limit, it shows the disappointment isn't only coming from the right, it's also growing inside the left. And when even comedians start raising red flags, you know the story is starting to fall apart.
The whole thing is about this state is just so fucked with overtaxes and overregulation.
Sure.
I mean, I last time he was on, I was, kidding him about the fact that I took 3 years to get my solar power turned on. Now I just had my roof redone because of the fires, because now I want a fireproof roof. 2 inspections, and you have to pay for those inspections, They're not free. And I asked this on the show last week. I see it got picked up by a lot of people. Why do I have to have inspectors looking at my roof? It's my roof. If it falls on my head, that's my problem. I don't need the government looking over my shoulder here. And this is why we can't get anything done in this state. The government is just too in our fucking business. And he was on last January, and I asked him about this and the red tape, and he had a big answer about, well, I'm going to find out what the exact was, and see now that it's a year and 3 months later, what's been done.
I know Maher has a long history of criticizing Donald Trump. He's never held back. But even with that, he's one of the few voices on the left who hasn't fully fallen for the woke nonsense that's ruining today's conversations. Maher isn't perfect, but at least he tries to stay honest. He cuts through all the noise, sees what's real, and isn't afraid to question the groupthink that so many people blindly follow. So yes, I was honestly surprised when he got invited to the White House. And the breaking news is, this was the first time he was ever invited. Think about that. A man who's voted Democrat his whole life and has been loved by the liberal media for decades, and yet he never got that invitation until now. And here's the twist. It wasn't Biden or Obama who invited him. It was Donald Trump. Trump doesn't see Maher as an enemy. He sees him as one of the rare honest voices who dares to push back against woke extremism. And in today's world, that makes Maher more of an ally than most people on the left would ever admit.
Last question. You're going to meet with the president.
I am?
So Kid Rock makes it happen. What do you think has been the response so far? What do you think it will be, and why are you doing it? Which I'm totally for, by the way, and I love it.
I get it. Well, I'm doing it because, first of all, it was presented as
a dare.
Not a dare. No, just like, maybe this is a beginning to heal America. No, I don't have some sort of complex where I think I can heal America. I can't. Okay, let's get that clear. I'm not going to be healing America. But if 2 guys who've been at each other for so long, I mean, it's kind of a Nixon to China thing. I have the credential. There was nobody who was harder on Trump or more prescient about the fact that he wasn't going to leave office voluntarily than I was. I feel like I have the credentials. But they also respect me because I'm honest about the woke train to crazy town.
You don't hear that kind of honesty and appreciation very often, especially not from well-known Democrats. When was the last time you heard a liberal public figure honestly say they were grateful for being invited to the White House? It's pretty rare, if it happens at all. And it's also why more conservatives and independent thinkers are starting to like him. People on the right aren't supporting him because he switched sides. They respect him because he isn't afraid to point out the nonsense, double standards, and extremes of his own side. He may have lost some fans on the far left, but at the same time, he's earned a lot of respect from the right. His audience is growing. In a world where most people only repeat what their side says, Maher has the courage to think for himself, and people are paying attention. Now listen closely to how Maher talks about President Biden compared to how he spoke about Trump.
I've also lost a lot of fans for that. The woke people have left the building, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice. But it does give you a certain credibility. So I just think to meet somebody, first of all, it's an honor to be invited to the White House.
Yes, it is.
And I've already had a couple of people who I said to them, I'm just going to take it as a backhanded compliment that you glide right past the idea that little Bill Maher from Rivervale, New Jersey, just a humble kid from the suburb was invited for a private dinner to the White House, you glide right past that to how dare you talk to him, and that you're not impressed by it at all. I'm impressed by it a lot.
Bill Maher has never been afraid to call out his own side, even if it means criticizing leaders he once supported. That's what really makes him stand out. He doesn't just follow the crowd or stick to party lines. He says what's on his mind, no matter who it upsets. A perfect example was when Biden's team kept trying hard to convince everyone that the president was sharp and fully in control, even though all the signs suggested otherwise. While most liberal voices stayed quiet or carefully avoided the topic, Maher spoke out loud and clear, saying what many people were already thinking but were too scared to admit, that Biden didn't seem fit for the job anymore. The slip-ups, the blank stares, and the constant need for handlers weren't just small mistakes. They raised serious concerns for the whole country. Maher didn't sugarcoat it or dance around the issue. He faced it directly. That kind of honesty is rare these days, especially in a media world where most people choose loyalty to their side over speaking the truth. But Maher shows it's possible to stand for facts, even if it means going against your own crowd. Love him or hate him, you can't deny he's brave enough to say what a lot of people are thinking.
Any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this: it's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life, and when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied. Biden is toast. The walls will keep crumbling, and my pick in the office pool for when he gives it up is August 9th, the 50th anniversary of when Nixon...
Oh, so now you're finally ready to admit that Biden wasn't mentally sharp enough to lead the country? Funny, because not so long ago, anyone who even suggested that was called a conspiracy theorist, a right-wing extremist, or something worse. I still remember how you attacked and mocked people who simply pointed out the obvious, that Biden didn't seem mentally fit for the job. You called them ignorant, cruel, and ageist, and dragged their names through the mud all over social media just for daring to speak the truth. And now, suddenly, it's fine to admit it? Now it's just old age catching up? The double standards are unbelievable. When the truth was too uncomfortable, you tried to hide it. But now that it's impossible to deny, you pretend like you knew all along. Sorry, but the rest of us haven't forgotten. This was never just about politics. It was about honesty and accountability. You can't gaslight the whole country and expect everyone to move on quietly. People are wide awake now, and they've started demanding the truth.
Losing his acuity, which a lot of older men do, and compensating it with this wonderful ability to get people to work together. But I would say, I don't think we need to get a panel of gerontologists to look at the situation. Just leave all known old people around. Yeah, we'll take the kids.
I'm so disappointed that you, like me, not so young, would say this. It's such bullshit. First of all, this same week that he did this, Kamala Harris is over in Korea saying our longtime ally North. Oh, so now you're...
Maher hasn't held back when it comes to making fun of Joe Biden's age, and honestly, a lot of his jokes have hit the mark. But the truth is, Biden and Trump are almost the same age, so the real issue isn't just about getting older. Age affects everyone differently, and this isn't about shaming Biden for growing old, but it does raise serious questions about leadership, stability, and honesty. If the people around him knew he wasn't mentally sharp enough to handle the job, but still pushed him forward for the sake of appearances, then the real question is, who was actually making the decisions? Who was running the country behind the scenes? Who was signing off on important orders during the final stretch of his time in office? Because if Biden wasn't fully in charge, someone else was. And that should worry every American, no matter their political views. And the sharp criticism didn't stop at Biden. Maher also had plenty to say about Kamala Harris, too.
I mean, and then he gets his ass on a plane. It can't be easy. What? He's not a young man. He remembers when the Dead Sea was alive. told the Wailing Wall to keep it down. No, he's running.
Honestly, even if we were just talking about a university position, I'd still have doubts about Kamala Harris's ability to lead. So imagining her as the President of the United States feels almost impossible. She's simply not the right person for the job, and that became very obvious during her campaign. Every time she spoke, her thoughts were unclear and all over the place. Most of the time, it felt like she was saying random words that didn't really mean anything, leaving people more confused than inspired. She avoided interviews unless the host was guaranteed to go easy on her, and when she did show up, her answers always felt shallow and weak. And let's not forget the debates. She struggled badly there, too. She couldn't make strong points, she looked unprepared, and voters clearly noticed because her campaign failed so badly she had to drop out before a single vote was even cast. If she couldn't even win over her own party, how could anyone expect her to lead the entire country? The truth is, Kamala wasn't picked for her skills. She was chosen to tick identity boxes. Sure, that might look good on paper or in headlines, but when it comes to real leadership, that's just not enough. A leader needs to be clear, strong, and decisive. And time again, she's proven that she can't meet that standard. If the Democrats honestly believe Kamala is the future of their party, they're in for a rude awakening. Yes, she would be the first woman president, the first black woman president, and the first Asian president, but I don't vote based on firsts. I vote for the person who can actually win and lead. And the reality is, Kamala has never been popular. In fact, during the 2020 primaries, you could count the number of delegates she won on one hand, if that hand had no fingers. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kamala Harris doesn't stand a chance against Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, or even Gavin Newsom. And truthfully, Newsom doesn't either, no matter how hard he tries to push progressive ideas or show off his political strength. The American people are simply tired of the far left's obsession with woke policies, which have done nothing but create division and chaos. It's a losing strategy, and the Democrats have been ignoring that reality for too long. The only way they stand a chance in the future is if they completely drop this toxic, identity-driven approach and get back to common-sense politics. Americans want real solutions, plans to fix the economy, protect the borders, and bring back national pride. Not endless lectures about identity politics or cancel culture. If the Democrats don't wake up soon, their chances will just keep getting worse. The future will belong to those who tell the truth and put the country first. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.